We are getting started with chapter 49, verse 1. Chapter 49, verse 1. Vayikra Yaakov banav. So Jacob called to his sons. Vayomer heyasvu v'agido achem et asher yikra eschem b'achrit hayamim. Jacob called to his sons and he said, gather together and I'll tell you that which will happen to you in the end of days. But of course, he never actually says anything to them. So that's the whole secret. What happened here? So Rashi says, and this is harkens back to the first Rashi in the portion. This harkens back to the first Rashi in the portion, which is Vayechi, on Parshas Vayechi, where he says, he sought to reveal the end. So Rashi says what happened was he thought he was going to tell them what was going to happen in the end, but God's presence departed from him. And so he said something else. He pivoted. But that's the way Rashi interprets it. Obviously, there are other commentaries, but that's Rashi's interpretation. And then he says, "He kavtzu v'shemu b'nei Yisrael." He says, "Gather and listen, b'nei Yaakov. Gather and listen, O sons of Jacob. V'shemu al Yisrael avichem. Listen to your Israel, your father." What does that mean? To Israel, your father? There's no Rashi there. Okay, now the text of these blessings I've always found to be very, very challenging words. But Rashi tries to explain. Rashi explains them, but I've always had an issue with the Rashis. After Levi, they start getting really challenging. So it says, "Ruven bechoriyata." Ruven, you're my firstborn. Kochi, my strength. Vereshit oni, the first of my oni. See what that's unusual word. Yeter se'et, v'yeter az. Greater se'et. That's another unusual word. And yeter az, greater by strength, by might. What does that mean? Okay, so let's see what it means. So Rashi says, Reshit oni, the first of my vigor. Kitipa rishona shalo. It means, when he says, Reuven, you're the first of my oni, it means you're my first drop. Jacob had never had a drop of seed until Reuven was conceived. Shelo ra'a karimi yamav. Jacob had never seen seed until such time as he impregnated Leah with the seed of Jacob. With the seed of Jacob. Hello, Reb David. Good morning, my dear. Good afternoon. What did I say? Good morning. Okay. So basically, Rashi is telling us that Reuben was not only the firstborn, but he was the first drop of seed of Jacob. Oni means my Rashi says, Kochi, my strength. Like we said, Kamon Matsati only. He finds a parallel to this word in Hosea. I have found myself strength. Merov onim, from the abundance of strength. La'ein onim, the powerless. Okay, so Rashi is telling us that oni means strength. We're in chapter 49, verse 3. We're going through the blessings. Yeter se'et v'yeter az. Oh, David. David brought me. He was a tremendous, this is a real true life story. There's a prisoner. I mean, I don't want to define him as being that, but he's one of the people David, and part of David's community. David visits and teaches the people in the maximum security prison. And he gave David a donation to bring to the yeshiva, which was incredibly generous. He probably makes like 7 cents an hour. How much does he make an hour?
He makes about 23 cents an hour.
23 cents an hour. And he made a donation, which was, to me, incredibly meaningful. And I wanted to know, what's the best way for me to write him a thank you note?
I'll just write him a note. I'll bring it to him.
Oh, so I'll give you the note.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So I'll print that up and give it to you. All right, thank you. I don't think he needs a tax. I don't think he needs it for the tax deduction, but I'm going to write him a powerful, a note about how powerful it was to receive his gift. So Yeter Sa'it V'Yeter Az, greater by, you know what it is, I just want to say this, when somebody is imprisoned, they feel so helpless, but when they're able to give to others, it empowers them to feel like they're still a reason for their existence in the world. And we're the beneficiaries of that. That to say that there's a moment where a soul, we can't undo the damage that was done, but we can have redemption of a soul in the sense that this moment can be better than the last. So it's very powerful for me to see a person like that contributing to our yeshiva, which is about spiritual improvement. So, and David is the agent, so it's a mitzvah of a mitzvah. So then it says yeter se'et v'yeter az. So Reuben, so he blesses Reuben and he says, "You're the first of my seed. You are yeter se'et and yeter az." What does that mean? Rashi says it means ra'oi hayita liot yater alachacha. It was really appropriate for you to be yater, to be greater than your brothers, b'kahuna, in the priesthood. So Rashi says that the word se'et means the priesthood. You should have been the greater priest. Se'et, Rashi says, and this is creative, means lashon nesiut kapayim, as the way the priestly blessing gives. Probably Rabbi Steinholtz probably doesn't adopt it because this is not the text, the literal text. Lashon nesiut kapayim, the raising of the hands. But, and then it says yeter az, greater by strength, b'malchut. You should have been the king. Kemo vayitain oz l'malko. You gave strength to his kingdom. So how did you lose this? That leads into the next verse. Rashi's basically saying, and now the next verse says, why did you lose the ability to be the high priest and the ability to be the king? You were Ruvain. The reason why you lost it is because pachas kamayim. You're unstable like water. Al tosar. Do not take more. Ki alisa mishkavei avicha. You went up on your father's bed. As chilalta yitzui Allah. Then you desecrated the one who, him who ascended my couch. We'll see how Rashi translates this, but so this is not a blessing, even though it says at the end of the blessings, it says Isha Sher Kabir Chato Beirachotam. Each one of these, according to his blessing, he blessed them. This is hardly a blessing. He's telling him, you you messed up. You messed up. You could have been this, but because you're unstable, you weren't. And because you committed a tremendous sin. Let's see how Rashi tells us. Pachaz, hapachaz ve'abehela, asher miharta, marot ka'ascha. Pachaz is the unsteadiness, and behela is the confusion. Asher miharta, that you quickly rushed. Laharot, ka'ascha, to show your anger. But kamayim halalu, like these waters, hamaharim limrutzasam, which hurry in their flow. Lakach, for this reason, al tosar, do not take more. Al tarbeli tol, do not take more. Kol hayetera talalu, shayeruuyot lach. You're losing everything, these advantages you had, because you were quick to anger, like waters which hurry in their flow. That's why you're not going to get these extra additions. What's the unsteadiness? What did you do that shows that you're not reliable, that you're a loose cannon, so to speak? You mounted your father's bed. Then, because you did that, you desecrated the one who had ascended upon my couch, Rashi says, you desecrated God. Shlina shayadarko yos oal yitzui. God was ascending over my couch. The God's over the bed of a husband and wife, but because you desecrated my bed by being with one of my concubines, therefore you were unstable and you lost the ability to be the king in the Kohen Gadol. So Reuven has lost it. Powerful rebuke. She says, okay, Pachas will leave it, but then Yitzui, Rashi says, is Lashom Nishkav, something to lie on. It's like a mattress. Al Shem Shematzim Oto, they spread it. Ayadei with felt, usadinin and sheets. And there's a lot of words. V'arbei domimlo, im zachartich ha al Yitzuai, im al eres Yitzuai. Okay, so that's Reuven. And a question, Ben?
I'm just noticing that in the Rashi I'm reading, it uses the Shekhinah again, but I'm just struck by it because it came up in the first verse. In the first Rashi explaining
That
why
the
it didn't really
Shekhinah
tell at the end the Shekhinah had departed, and then just a few verses later, you have Rashi saying, when you went up to your father's place and profaned him by going to his couch, the name of the Shekhinah that used to abide above my couch.
Well, because what happened was, this goes back to the end of Parshas. There are two separate moments. One is God's presence departed here because Jacob was not supposed to reveal the end of time, according to Rashi. And then there's a reference back to an earlier incident, many years earlier, when Reuven ascended. At the end of Parshat Vayishlach, when Reuven desecrated Jacob's couch and thereby caused the Shechina to depart from it.
Okay.
But you're right, there's two departures of the Shechina. It's a very nice comparison between the two. Yes.
Is that significant that it's referring to the Shekhinah, or is that that's how we normally refer to God's presence?
Rashi often refers to God as the Shechina. He doesn't only use the Shechina. He sometimes uses God as the Makom, sometimes as Kadosh Baruch Hu, but it's not unusual. He's most likely, he's just pulling down from the earlier sources and he's just being consistent with them. And so that's why he's doing it. Like the first place was a reference to Pesachim and Breshit Rabbah, and this source is a reference to Shabbat 55b. So I'm not sure. So it's coming from different Talmudic texts. I don't think it's Rashi deciding to use this word here as opposed to this word there. Most of Rashi is Rashi choosing which text to cite for the verse. Why is he's choosing this midrash he finds most appropriate, or this Talmudic source? Most of Rashi is like the most appropriate earlier source that he can comment on this page. So then it says Shimon and Levi Achim. Shimon and Levi are brothers, which is, this is obvious. So we'll see what Rashi says about that. Klei Hamas Mecherosehem. Their wares are wares of violence. Okay, let's see what Rashi says. Shimon v'Levi be'itza achat. So when it says achim, it means they were of one mind. They were of one mind. Al Shechem, regarding Shechem, v'al Yosef, and regarding Joseph. V'yomu ish el achav, and each one said to his brothers, meaning to say they were the ones, and Rashi here says, well, we knew from the explicit text that they were the ones who did in chapter 34 the attack on Shechem after Dinah was abducted. But Rashi here also says, and now Rashi is going to prove it, that they were the ones who were responsible for Joseph's being sold. Because Rashi, I'm sorry? Rabbi Yosef, you broke up. I couldn't hear what you had to say. Right, I can't. I'm not hearing you, Rabbi Yosef. So, maybe write it down in the text. So it says, Vayomu, okay. Okay, Vayomu ish. So what does Rashi say here? Vayomu ish al-chiv. Oh, it says in the singular. Shimon and Levi are brothers. Okay, let's see what Rashi says. Vayomer ish al-chiv, when the brothers saw Joseph approaching, it says one man said to his brother. That's what Rabbi Yosef is pointing out, but it's in the singular, meaning to say that there were two brothers who were plotting. One brother said to the other brother. So who are these people? And they said, let's come and let's kill him. So who were the two brothers who said that? Mihaim. So im tomar, if you want to say it's Ruvain or Yehuda, it can't be Ruvain or Judah. Hare lo askimu barigaso. They were very upset because Ruvain came back and he's devastated, and Judah says, "Why should we kill him?" Because they said, "Well, let's kill him." And Judah says, "What do we gain out of killing him?" So it's not Ruvain and it's not Yehuda. Now im tomar b'nei Ashvachot, if you want to say it's the children of Bilhah and Zilpah. They didn't hate Joseph because it says he used to hang out with the children of Bilhah and Zilpah. Yisachar and Zvulun. Now Yisachar and Zvulun, they were the youngest. They wouldn't have spoken up in front of their brothers who are older than them, because so therefore, it can't be they wouldn't have done it. Al karchach Shimon v'Levi heim shenikra im avihem achim. So it must have been we're the ones who did it, Shimon and Levi, and their father calls them brothers. And so we see from here that this is the concept here is that Rashi is blaming them for, and here we don't see a source for this. So I think this was specifically Rashi's idea that Shimon and Levi were the ones responsible for the sale of Joseph, for saying we will kill Joseph.
Is this considered an elegant, absolutely persuasive proof, or is this just really way out there? Because, for example, I don't know where Simeon and Levi were in the birth order, but
Well, we know where they are, right here. They're 2 and 3.
they're okay. So that's why what applies to the youngest, Issachar and Zebulun, they wouldn't have spoken like that in front of their older brothers. That would not apply to Shimon and Levi.
Shimon and Levi were number 2 and number 3,
Okay.
and Reuben had and they clearly felt. We know for a fact that Shimon and Levi were prone to violence because they took we know for a fact they were prone to violence because they took out the entire city of Shechem.
Right.
So it's a little speculative, but it's logical. It's a logical argument. We're in chapter 49, verse 5. So Shimon and Levi, Rashi's saying they're the ones, and also Jacob's saying that that their wares are wares of violence. So, and also the text says that each one said to his brother in the singular. All of these points to Shimon and Levi being the ones. So Rashi says, I know I wouldn't say it's a smoking gun, but it's if you're
I know, honestly, I just don't know enough. Maybe because it's very logical. I mean, it's very persuasive. If there's nothing that's seen is off,
No, it's a strong argument, and the answer is that it depends on it. To my mind, if you had to bet, these are the ones you'd bet on. Okay, so Koyach Hamas. When we take a look at this, it's not Reuben, it's not Yehuda. Who are the next two oldest? Shimon and Levi. Shimon and Levi are the ones who have a history of violence. So that's it. It's most likely them. Koyach Hamas umanut zu shal ritzicha. This craft of murder, Hamas hu biyadem, is in their possession by theft. Mibirchat Esav hizu umanot shalohi v'atem Hamas temotom himeno. So now Rashi's saying that Jacob said, you didn't come by this idea of violence honestly. You stole it from Esau. It's not the real way of the sons of Jacob. You stole it. Mecheroseim lashon klei zayin. This means arms. Hasayef b'lashon Yavani. The sword in Greek is called the machera. The machera. Okay. Davar acher. So basically, it means it's their arms. Klei chamas. Mecheroseim is their weapons. Alternatively, mecheroseim means Rashi says be'eretz meguratam, in the land of their sojourns. Na'agu atzman b'klei chamas. When they were traveling, they conducted themselves with violence. Kamo mechorosayach u'molodosayach, in the land of your sojourns and your birthplace. That's Unclos's translation. Okay, so they don't do too well either, because now Rashi doesn't. Jacob is not happy with them. He says, "Bisodam al tavon nafshi," in their council, please don't let my soul come. Bikalam, in their congregation, al techad kivodi. In their congregation, do not unite my honor. This is also Rashi's going to see as a reference to Joseph too. So let's see what that means. Bisodam al tavonashi, in their council, don't bring my soul. Rashi says this is a reference later on in the Torah to the story of Pinchas, when Zimri is going to be sinning with Cosby, and it says Bisodam al tavon nafshi. This is a reference to Zimri, Zemas and Zimri, Kishnitzkav su shifto shel Shimon, when Shimon's tribe gathered together to bring the Midianite woman with name Moshe, Va'amrulo, and they said to him, Zu asura, this one is forbidden, O muteris. So what happened was, when the tribe of Shimon gathered together to bring the Midianite woman before Moshe, they said to Moshe, can I take this woman? Am I allowed to marry this Midianite woman? Or is it prohibited or permitted? Im tomar asura, if you say it's prohibited, bat yitro mi yitiro lach. They said to Moshe, how are you able to marry a Midianite woman? Al yizaker shmi b'davar. So Jacob says, when you do that, don't mention my name. And for this reason, it says, Zimri ben Salu, Nisi Beit Avo Shimoni, Lo Katav ben Yaakov. They removed Jacob's name from the genealogy there. You follow that? So this is another mess up that Shimon does. And then he says, Bikya Aram, with their gatherings, Kishayakil Korach, Shehu Mishivto Shalevi, as Koeda al Moshe Aaron. When Korach, who is from the tribe of Levi, gathers the entire assembly on Moses and Aaron. He says, Al techad kvodi. Also, don't mention my name.
Excuse me.
Al techad kvod. He says, don't mention my name. Al yityached imahem. You have a good idea, David, that you just got? Write it down. Okay. He says, Al techad kvodi. Do not put my name there. Al yityached misham. Shenemar Korach ben Yitzhar ben Kap ben Levi. So Levi is the origin of Korach. Korach is the ancestor of Korach, and Korach, it also traces him only back to Levi, which is unusual. Could have said back to Jacob. Bonemar ben Yaakov, but the Divrei Yamim Kishenach Nityachsu b'nei Korach al Duchan. When the children of Korach go up to sing on the platform, there it says Ben Korach ben Yitzhar ben Kas ben Levi ben Yisrael. So when they're doing something good, it mentions Jacob, but Jacob says, leave me out of it. Leave me out of it when they're talking about their mistakes. Al ta'echad kivodi. Rashi says, okay, we'll leave that Rashi because there it's grammar. But then it says here, ki ba'apam hargu ish. When it says in their anger they killed a man, Elu chamor. By the way, this is the source for the idea that Shimon and Levi did something wrong because Jacob curses them for it. Elu Chamor v'Anshe Shlem. This is a reference to during the abduction of Dinah, they killed Chamor and the men of Shlem. Ve'inan chashuvin kulam el ke'ish echad. All of them were considered by just like a single man. V'chein hu omer begidon v'ikita et Midian ke'ish echad. You struck them down like a single man. Also by Egypt. Sus v'rachvo ramah bayam. This is the midrash. Upshuto. It's really, why does it say they killed a man? Many people are called a man. Okay, fine. It means that they killed all the people. And then it says, Uvirtsonam ikru shor. And in their anger, they killed an ox, or they hamstrung Ubirtsonam, in their desires, they hamstrung an ox. Rashi says that shor is a reference, this ox is a reference to Joseph, because it says, Ratsula koret Yosef. They wanted to eliminate Joseph. Joseph is called, Jeffrey. Joseph was a reference to an ox. Joseph is called an ox. And across shore, as it says, Bechor Sharo Adarlo, the chief of his ox, glorious is. Ikru Isartir Velad. He's called Isartir in Old French. Lashon et Susayem. You shall hamstring their horses. So this is another reference to why they consider to be Joseph to be the one who was the person who they were attacking.
So why does it say when they were pleased?
Well, basically in their wish, it was their wish, not their pleas. They're saying Kibartsam Ubartsonam Ikru Shor. And then we'll just do one more verse. We'll finish Shimon and Levi, and then we'll daven. It says, Arur Apam, cursed is their anger, Ki Az, because it is mighty, the Evrasam and their wrath, Ki Kashata, because it is strong, Achal Kem Yaakov, I will divide them up amongst Jacob, Vafitzein Israel, I will scatter them amongst Israel. So it is a little bit ironic that Shimon and Levi, okay, Shimon disappears, but Levi is the origin of all the Kohanim are Levi and Moshe Rabbeinu. So how is he cursing them? So Rashi says, Arur Apam, listen to this. Afil b'shat tochacha, even when he was rebuking them, he didn't rebuke them. Lo kilel el apam, he only rebuked their anger. As it says, V'zeu shamar bilam, ma'akov kavael. How can I curse what God has not cursed? Meaning to say that he's not cursing them, he's cursing their anger. And then he says, Achal Kain Yaakov, I'll split them up. Afrideim zemizeh. I'll separate them from one another. Shaloya Levi b'minyan hashvatim. So Levi became not counted amongst the other tribes. Hareim chalukim. They're separated. Davar acher. Alternatively, Ein lecha aniyim mesofrim umlamde tinokot elam Shimon. Alternatively, all the scribes and the poor and the teachers of children come from Shimon. Kadesh unifotzim, so they'll be scattered. V'shifto shel Levi asu mechazer al agranot. And tribe of Levi, Jacob set them up to be the ones to go collecting their tithes from the threshing floors. U'trumoto ma'asrot nasango tfutzato der kavod. He assigned the scattering in a more respectable manner. So basically, because they were so dangerous together, Jacob separated them, and he turned their weakness into a strength, that they became able to be the Kohanim and the teachers, because together they were problematic, but when they separated, they were able to do great things. Okay, we'll stop here, but Rabbi Yosef has a question, and then we'll daven. Yeah, Rabbi Yosef.
Just wanted to